Happy Friday, Shannon.
Thank God it's Friday, people. How are we all doing?
I am vaxxed, relaxed, and I am just hoping I stay good for the day.
Hoping you stay well.
Really hoping for wellness. That's all we can hope for right now.
I will let you know that I am still recovering from my vax and not relaxed. I might fit in an afternoon nap. We'll see.
Ugh, unreal.
But we are coming off of a sorry, I was looking at our comments. We are coming off of a lovely evening of hockey in which we had a lovely live stream. Thank you to everyone that joined us.
Yes. It was a good time.
So let's check out some scores, shall we?
Some wild games last night. Was not expecting some of these scores, was expecting others. Sabres, Bruins winning 5-1. Expected.
It's our 6th win in a row. We will be doing a back-to-back. They played the Sabres again tonight. It's hoping for a 7th win. I won't be shocked if they lose, though. I mean, 6 wins in a row. We've got to fall from grace at some point. So,
eventually.
We'll see. We'll see.
This Penguins 5-1 over the Devils. Didn't lose it this time.
Didn't choke. We did not enter choke seat.
Honestly, can only hope for. I didn't really have the faith, but we made it. We persevered, if one may say so myself.
Yeah, the Devils have lost their momentum in the locker room. It's a little hard to see, but
I feel like once you've officially been told, by the way, you aren't going forward, I feel like you've got to give up a little. That must feel a little rough.
I mean, you'd think, but they're a rebuilding team. I don't know.
All right, but how long are you a rebuilding team until you're just bad?
Well, who's to say? Who is
not
to say? Speaking of rebuilding teams, the Flyers. The Rangers 3-2, which although the Flyers are pretty much out of it, we're just waiting for the official word from the NHL numerically. The Rangers were not out of it until pretty much last night. That really is putting the nail in the Rangers' coffin. They are now at least 8 points back, I think. Let's confirm.
Yeah, I saw someone wearing a Rangers t-shirt today at 8 points. When I was getting my vax, and I was like, wow, it's a really rough day to be wearing a Rangers t-shirt.
Yeah, they're 8 points back now. That's a really tough deficit for them to come back to, especially because the Bruins still hold 3 games in hand. Bruins are really hot.
Yeah.
And the Rangers are not hot. So,
I thought they could come back, but they just lost it. But the real game last night that was a nail biter, literally until the final shot of the shootout, Capitals Islanders, Caps won 1-0. The literal last shot of the shootout.
Is that a nail biter when it's that boring?
Was it boring, or was it just kind of
or is it a snooze?
They were fighting for first place. They were fighting between first and third last night.
I think it's just a gosh darn snooze fest once you get to that point.
I think all night was the snooze fest for you last night.
Except for our unboxing was not a snooze fest. Our jerseys have arrived. If you ordered one, I will be mailing it this weekend.
And people have asked on Twitter if they can get their hands on one. Maybe we'll do a second order.
We will definitely do a second order, and we will be giving one away once we hit a large milestone on one of our accounts. I'm thinking once we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed yet,
that's a lot. Because then we can monetize. Anyway, so that was a lot going on in the East Division last night. Thursdays, I feel like, are always big nights for the East Division. But let's move into Central, Shan. Hurricanes beat the Panthers 4-2. I was kind of surprised by that because I feel like the Panthers have been on a hot streak. They've been doing well.
It's the same story as the West. The Avalanche and the Golden Knights are just going back and forth and dancing around each other for first and second. Yeah. The Panthers and the Hurricanes are doing the same thing in the Central Division. I think the annoying thing here is that they want that first seed to play that worst team, because both in the Central and the West, it is a huge drop off once you get from the top 3 teams to the 4th team in terms of points, but also skill level. And so,
but also like the somewhat difference here, I feel though, is that in the West, if the Blues can get above the Yotes, I would be a little more nervous playing the Blues than I would be about to play like the Preds or the Stars, you know?
Well, the Blues lost again last night. So.
Right. But I still think they have more ability to like come from behind than the Preds and the Stars.
I mean, as a Bruins fan, I have to agree with you only because I have PTSD from the 2019 Stanley Cup. However, I don't know if it's the same Blues team. I don't know if we can just label them as those comeback kids still because they're able to do that. And I don't know that I'm willing to write off the Coyotes and the Predators also. I think the Predators did the same thing. They were looking horrible. They were at the bottom of the Central Division, and now they had a resurgence. They had a really long win streak, and they're in the conversation now just because obviously that huge momentum dropped off a bit, which like I said about the Bruins too, a win streak has to end at some point, whether it be against a good team or a bad team.
You have to lose. Come down.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know that I'm more or less scared of one or the other. I think when it comes to the Central Division and those top teams, I don't know if I want to say it, but I don't know that they're at the same skill level as the West top two teams. So it's going to be one of those things that we've been talking about for a while. You know, once a team comes out of a given division, are they going to be able to compete the same way that they do within their division outside of the division?
Totally. Okay. Sticking with the Central first for another minute or two. Not that these were overly surprising. The Lightning beat CBJ 3-1. Columbus was up 1-0 for the first period, which was shocking to me. I don't know if it was a full first period, but they had that 1-0 lead for a minute, but then the Lightning just came back and was like, nope, something funny.
And their players were brutally honest at the end of their game in their post-game interviews saying like, we're sick of this, man. Like, this is not, I'm uninterested in playing this CBJ hockey game any further.
Totally. And then the last one, the Red Wings Stars. Red Wings won 7-3. That was a nice beating, if I do say so.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so that goes back to the fourth seed in the Central, right? The Stars were, from what I read, there was a really interesting chart on 538 showing the fourth seed races for each division. And it was showing the Stars trending up. And in the West, it was showing the Blues trending up, and then both of them took bad losses last night. So I was interested to see, it hadn't updated today, but I was interested to see how that was going to show the statistics and the possibility of them actually making it, because the Blues are much closer than the Stars are from what I think.
Yeah. I think it's closer.
Yeah, because the Stars are only 2 points back.
The Stars are only from 4.
The Blues are 1 point back.
Right. Still close. But we'll see. Moving over to another one for the West. The Blues played the Avalanche last night. Avalanche won 4-2. Not surprising. Avalanche is definitely a force to be reckoned with right now. I'll be curious to see that. I think there's 1 or 2 more matchups between them in Vegas, and I'm curious to see who takes that.
I don't think whoever gets matched up in the second seed that plays against Minnesota is going to make it past Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to hand a surprise loss to that second seed, but then whoever comes out the top will probably be fine.
I kind of want to say not real, but I could see it for sure.
I think Minnesota is just they've been consistent, which is something that like
I think they're super underrated right now too. Like no one's really, I feel like they're not getting talked about enough for the level of play they're at.
Right. Everyone assumed the skill level of Vegas and Colorado prior to the season, and so they've held their own there. But no one thought Minnesota was going to be good. I think I had them at like 6th or 7th in my pre-division power rankings. Yeah. And so now that they are showing that they can compete and that they're being, competitive. Sorry, my Moderna is really just not doing well for my wordsmithing today. I think people are just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, when will Minnesota choke? But they're not going to. I mean, their points are solidified. They have 61
They're not going anywhere.
So,
but it is what it is. Then final division, we go to the North. The Leafs beat the Jets 5-3. I feel like that was pretty close for most of the game. I don't think, granted the Leafs won, I don't think they necessarily overly outplayed the Jets, but it is what it is. They're the 1-2 teams in the North. They're still playing good hockey, so.
Yeah, they're both playing good hockey. The Jets did hold the lead briefly. It was pretty much back and forth the entire game. I wouldn't, overreact about the Leafs win here. I think they're pretty evenly matched at this point, particularly when you consider how poorly the Leafs do play in the playoffs. So,
And then the Senators beat the Canucks 3-0.
In the middle of the game started at what? 10:30?
Shut out. Good, honestly, good for the Sens. Just
whatever. I guess you don't want the first overall pick, so it's fine.
They want to third. I don't know, maybe. The East,
right,
the bottom of the East is really fighting for that pick.
Going into tonight's matchups, we have double headers for both the Bruins and the Sabres, as well as the Flyers and the Rangers, which will both be pretty interesting games just because the Bruins and the Sabres have played each other quite a few times in the last 2 weeks. So they're getting a little scrappy. Obviously, they played the day after the trade deadline in which they traded Taylor Hall and Anders Bjork and Curtis Lazar. So the teams have a lot. What?
A nice little drive down for Taylor Hall.
Yeah, they've got a lot going on in between the two teams. They're like I said, they're getting scrappy. They're really getting to know one another. And so it's going to be interesting, a nice Friday night back-to-back. I'm going to get myself a pizza, pour myself a glass of whiskey, and really enjoy this gosh darn game, let me tell you.
Another back-to-back tonight, though. Flyers Rangers are going to go at it again, which this is really going to talk to that first place spot. If the Rangers, to that fourth spot. If the Rangers lose again, they're fully over. It's already over, but it is over.
It's a long shot for them now, but if they lose again to the Flyers, it will show that they don't have the mental consistency this season to do it. And, granted, the Rangers are young. They're in a separate, completely different position than the Flyers. The Flyers have a core that they've had for a very long time, and they need to move on from a lot of that core, whereas the Rangers are solidifying the core that they have, and it's a very young core, and it has a ton of potential. And so I'd say
in a few years, for sure.
In 2 or 3 years, particularly when the Capitals finally have to go to the nursing home, the Rangers are going to be incredible.
That's going to happen.
It's going to be annoying as hell for people who don't like New York like me. However, it's going to be really, really interesting, especially when they can finally name a captain. That's when you know they're good. When they finally name a captain.
They're making their mark. We'll see. 3 more games tonight over in Central. The Preds are taking on the Blackhawks. I think the Preds, they need to take this tonight to get those points to really hold on to their 4 spot.
It's a big game in Central Division. I think it's actually pretty underrated in terms of how important this matchup is because the Blackhawks are not counted out in that 4th seed either. They've got 49 points and the Predators have 52. It's 52 for the Preds, 50 for Dallas, and 49 for the Blackhawks. And if the Blackhawks can take this win from the Predators, it'll be 52, 51, and 50. So that's really important for Chicago to win tonight. Maybe I'll throw on my Blackhawks jersey tonight and wear that instead of a Bruins jersey for the Sabres game because that is critical for Chicago.
For sure. Then in the North, we have Montreal taking on Calgary, which they are the 4-5 right now, but that's a little bit more of a spread. That is a 8-point spread, 49-41. So, I think even if the Habs lose, Montreal kind of has this.
It depends on, I don't have the Flames' upcoming games in front of me, so I can't necessarily speak to the difficulty of their schedule. They are definitely burnt out. We had our Flames beat writer at Belly Up Sports did write to this past week. However, if they can get that down from 8 points to 6 is not that bad.
Well, they play Montreal literally their next 3 games.
So that's fantastic. That is a ton.
If they can win all 3 of those, that's a 2-point. But then they go in against Edmonton for 2 games, the Jets for a game. They have one with the Senators left, and then they finish with Vancouver. So they maybe I spoke too soon. They have a decent schedule given to them right now with those 4 games against the Canucks at the end, 1 more with the Sens, and then these 3 with Montreal. They've got to play some great hockey.
You know what's really important to note, though? So, yes, the Flames are certainly not counted out. There's only an 8-point spread there, and if they play the Canadiens 3 times in the next 3 games, that is critical. They could jump into that spot far easier than the Rangers could take the Bruins spot, actually.
Yeah.
But if you look below them, the Canucks are only 2 points behind that. And the Senators are only 3 points behind that. Not that the Senators are about to take that 4th spot, but realistically, the Canucks aren't out of it either. I know that we've talked about it before, but the Canucks are only 10 points behind the Canadiens. And if we're about to say that the Rangers have a chance with 8 points when the Bruins are playing...
Are you about to tell me that the Senators have a chance?
Should that be my next soapbox?
I dare you.
I am now for the Senators making the playoffs. Quote me now.
Oh my God, I'm taking this clip and putting it everywhere.
Is it Moderna or is it me?
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, the last game tonight is the Wild. They're taking on the Kings. Expecting the Wild to win. I think we said this before. They're kind of underrated. They have been playing great. I think they're going to take this. The Kings are crap.
Ooh.
I said it. Who knows?
Yeah, the Kings are.
But that's what's happening.
The Kings are 5 points behind the Yotes. I mean, like, not that bad.
Okay, but like...
They're 5 points out of a playoff spot.
Shannon, pick a soapbox.
Which pot stir should I pick? Let me know.
I can't with you. Okay. Let's talk about some other things. It's way better than daytime. I'll tell my bosses.
It is the Moderna talking people. It is.
Or I guess mine just like hasn't kicked in yet.
It takes like 6 hours, but once it kicks in, you're really just off your rocker for like 48 minutes.
Okay, Shan, you wanted to talk about some awards to watch with our last few minutes.
Yeah, so I thought it would be interesting in some of the days where we have a little bit less news to cover to dive into a few of the candidates for the NHL awards. So this one is going to be a little bit longer just because the MVP race is a little bit scattered. But I listed a few of our options here, and I think some of them are going to be shorter than others. Obviously, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are both, they've been in the discussion since the beginning of the season. Connor McDavid has a chance to hit 100 points in a 56-game season, which is absolutely insane. And like Leon Draisaitl, the current reigning MVP, his odds are hurt because he's playing with McDavid. And then we've got Nathan McKinnon, which is interesting. It's a separate situation than Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl because the Oilers are good because of McDavid and Draisaitl. They would be like in Canucks territory if they did not have those two guys. Whereas McKinnon is separating himself as an MVP caliber player on one of the best teams in the NHL. And the Avalanche would probably still be able to contend in a playoff spot if they did not have McKinnon, which is an interesting thing to consider, that you can still play at an MVP caliber when you're surrounded by all of those people and separate yourself. So then we move on to one that I know we spoke about yesterday, which is Mark Stone. And I'm going to turn it over to Megan since he's a Vegas guy.
Yeah, he is. He has 53 points this season. And I don't know. And I don't want to say that this is just him, but because I think he has a great team around him, which is the reason he has these opportunities. But Mark Stone has been killing it for Vegas. Like, we can like say like Vegas is doing great because they have great goaltending, they have all this, but like they would not be at this point if they did not have his 53 points. I'm trying to like remember how many of those are actual goals. Hold on, I have this up.
It's 22 goals.
Yes, which like Vegas needs those to get anywhere, and he's literally the main person supplying this. And I think a lot of people are looking beyond this because a lot of the Vegas story this year has been goaltending.
Yeah, and I think the problem is Mark Stone is not the name. He's not going to win the MVP. He probably won't be nominated either. But he plays at a Selke Trophy caliber, so I hope that he gets nominated for the Selke Trophy. However, he should be at least in the conversation for MVP because of the way he's playing and the way that he's lifting his team and the way that you said it. Vegas needs those points. They need him as a player on the ice. Yeah, that's what. So then we go on. Patrick Kane has been talked about since like the first third of the season because he took a literal garbage Blackhawks team and then brought them into playoff consideration. I mean, my struggle is that I don't know that he is playing at like a McDavid or Draisaitl level. But again, in terms of most valuable player, he literally made himself beyond valuable to the Blackhawks. So it's how you define MVP, right? Like, he's definitely valuable to the Blackhawks, but is he valuable? Like, I don't know.
Totally. This next one coming up for you, though, this is like, I want to say it's your newest soapbox, but it's not.
It's not.
Like, I do agree he deserves to be considered, but he won't be.
It's not an uncommon opinion anymore. It was when I first started saying it. But Brad Marchand should be in Hart Trophy consideration. He has been okay, to be fair, I did not put this on here just, again, as Megan said, to get on my soapbox. I read this. I was looking at an article, which made me think of the awards as a good topic for today.
He is tied for third in goals this season.
Yes.
And no one's talking about it.
How many points does he have?
He has 56 points. So he is 7th for points.
Insane. He's averaging over a point a game. Mm-hmm. He has more points than Ovechkin. He is the better left winger than Ovechkin. Ovechkin is not in the MVP conversation. Brad Marchand is. He kept the Bruins in the playoff conversation when they were slumping, when they looked awful. He was playing incredible.
Ovechkin's not even in like the top 25 for points.
And when Marchand and Bergeron are on the ice together, they have an even goal differential between shorthanded and not shorthanded goals, which is insane. They're more likely to score on a penalty kill than they are when they're just playing 5-on-5.
Yeah. He should, but he won't, which is a shame, but we will keep shouting this from the rooftop. And finally, Shan, Austin Matthews.
It's the same. It's a shame because he's not going to win anything until the Leafs can win something, which part of me kind of agrees with that because he has got a freaking stacked roster around him and the Leafs still aren't going to do anything with it. And he's an incredible player, but I mean, if he can't take them deep into a run, which again, Draisaitl didn't do that. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is all we have time for today. We will have more conversations like this coming up next week. Be sure to check us out during lunch. In the meantime, check us out on Twitter, @SweetheartsPub, /Sweethearts on Instagram. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube, please go do it. Look at this jersey Shannon's wearing. We are literally giving one away at one point, so help us get to that point. But anyway, in the meantime, everyone have a killer weekend and watch some hockey.
Thank you, guys.